A woman wanted for setting up a man in order to rob him, leading to his murder, has been sentenced to prison time for that death.
Arturo Pena died in 2023. His body was found in a car at a Garland park. While some justice has been served, there is still one suspect out there. His exact whereabouts are still unknown. Fox 4's David Sintendry spoke with Pena's family and joins us now live. David.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, it's a 40-year prison sentence for the woman who almost made it to Mexico while on the run for that murder. But in the meantime, her boyfriend, who is still on the run, is likely still hiding out in Mexico.
He meant the whole world to me. He was my everything. I adored him. Lizbeth
Pena viewed her cousin, Arturo Pena, as a big brother.
He had a really good heart. That was his biggest thing. He believed everybody was like him.
In 2023, Arturo Pena met a girl on social media, 17-year-old Natalie Navarro. The two later met at Audubon Park in Garland. But Pena did not know Navarro brought her boyfriend, Yordi Martinez, to rob him. During the robbery, Pena was shot and killed, allegedly by Martinez.
It's unfair. It feels really unfair.
Pena lived in Mesquite. His family initially reported the 21-year-old missing and even hired a private investigator. They received online tips that Navarro and Martinez were responsible for his disappearance. They called Mesquite police when they spotted the couple. Cell phone video shows officers apprehending Martinez. He and Navarro, however, were released, citing a lack of evidence. The next day, Garland police found Pena's body in his car at the park, while Navarro and Martinez were on the run. Navarro had been reported missing by her family, and an Amber Alert was issued, a possible attempt to confuse investigators. But Navarro was captured near the Mexico border and brought back to Dallas County.
Can you tell us what happened?
This month, she was sentenced to 40 years in prison after pleading guilty to murder.
It was hurtful being so close to the person that ended, my brother's life.
Martinez, however, is believed to have crossed into Mexico. He's facing a capital murder charge, but Garland Police Department, working with U.S. Marshals, says it does not know exactly where Martinez is at.
I try not to think about it too much because it angers us.
Lizbeth Pena believes eventually Martinez will be captured.
I'm at peace knowing that it will be taken care of.
Until then, Pena's family finds a bit of solace knowing the girl who set him up is headed to prison.
It was very traumatic, to say the least.
Jail records show that Navarro is still here in the Dallas County Jail awaiting to be transferred to a prison.
A young woman has serious injuries from a head-on car crash that killed her boyfriend. Her friends are trying to support her in this difficult time, and Fox 4's Dion Anglin joins us with her story. Dion.
Hi there, Clarice. State troopers in Erath County tell us a 63-year-old woman crossed directly into the lane and path of the innocent victims, a girlfriend and boyfriend in their 20s. The young man was killed. The girlfriend was injured. She is hospitalized in Fort Worth, her friends supporting her emotional recovery.
The fatal crash Friday on Highway 281 in Erath County left behind this severely mangled vehicle. Its owner, 22-year-old Nicole Doggett, is hospitalized in Fort Worth, struggling to survive. She's also grieving the loss of her boyfriend, Jalen Green, who was driving.
He was a really great guy. He treated Nicole really well.
Kai Ward says he and Nicole are roommates, a friendship that began at Tarleton State University.
Me and Nicole have been really close friends since 2021 when we started going to college together.
Now he and a group of supporters are rallying around Nicole in her recovery and grief. He says while she is improving physically, the road ahead of her is long and emotional. Kai believes before he died, Green was trying to shield Nicole.
Nicole said the car actually lost so much control. They got hit from the back end of their car, and the driver's side took all the impact. And Jay was driving. In his last moments, he tried to shield Nicole, and we think that that's probably what saved her.
As for what caused the fatal crash, we've reached out to DPS to confirm the investigation details and reports that another vehicle was involved. Kai says Nicole takes care of her younger brother, who is a sophomore in high school, and the emotional challenge is difficult for them all.
She's going to be out of work, and we're going to have to figure out how to take care of her. So it's just a lot to try to figure out. I mean, we're all really young, so it's a lot. We're just trying to do our best.
The woman who state troopers say caused the accident, 63-year-old Karen Huey of Lipan. And troopers also tell us that she has also died. They are investigating, trying to determine what caused her to lose control.
A Dallas man was sentenced to 72 years in prison for brutally murdering his wife. James Michael Patrick gave little reaction when he learned his fate for killing Janine Chapman. Chapman was an accomplished woman who once worked for the Duchess of York. Today, her loved ones minced no words, sharing what they think of Patrick. Fox 4's David Santandri was in court today, and David's live in Dallas outside the courthouse tonight. David?
Yeah, Steve, it's a 72-year sentence for that brutal murder, and today the victim's family was telling this now convicted killer face-to-face exactly how they feel about him.
I will never forgive you.
For nearly a year and a half, Shireen Chapman has been working to find words to say to James Michael Patrick, the man who showed no emotion, Friday, as he was sentenced to 72 years in prison for murdering his wife, Janine Chapman, Shireen's sister.
May you endure a life of perpetual fear and decay, confined to an existence devoid of solace or redemption. I want you to suffer every day for the rest of your life. And I want him to hear those words forever.
In 2023, Janine Chapman took time away from work for domestic issues. But when her office did not hear from her for 5 days, police were called for a welfare check. Chapman was found dead in her downtown Dallas apartment. Her family says her body was unrecognizable. Patrick was arrested at a hospital in Austin after he was admitted for treatment to an adverse reaction to an unknown substance he took. While in the hospital, he told doctors he got a bloody and black fingernail while fighting with his wife.
You showed no ounce of remorse or emotion towards my sister during the entire trial.
Janine Chapman previously worked as a personal assistant to Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, for 5 years after college. The Duchess shared her condolences on social media after the murder and has followed up with Chapman's mother in the aftermath.
She called me 3 times. We talked, and she gave me her sympathies, and she told me if there's anything she can do, I must let her know.
Family members spent an hour delivering victim impact statements to Patrick.
You're a monster, and I will sleep well at night, knowing that you are where you belong, in prison, away from society.
One day, a CO will open your cell, and you will be dead on your metal stone bed. And that will be the end of your story.
Now that they've expressed their pain to the killer, they want to share a message with the world.
To people out there, if they see any sign or indication that a loved one is being impacted by a toxic or abusive relationship, do not take the signs lightly.
Now, it's quite common after a jury verdict for jurors to leave and go home. Their job is done, but that didn't happen today. After the verdict, there was the sentencing phase, and that took several hours, and a lot of these jurors actually stuck around throughout that process, some of them in tears in the courtroom during those victim impact statements. They went up to the family members of the victim, they gave hugs, and afterwards, speaking with the victim's family in the hallway, they are telling me they felt these jurors really empathized with them and felt the pain of that loss they're experiencing.
A $10,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the indictment of the burglars who broke into a Cleburne business and stole thousands of dollars, and it may not be their first theft. A private investigator is working with Cleburne police in this week's trackdown. Fox 4's Sean Rabb has the surveillance images.
We are in Cleburne, down Highway 67. This is Catherine Smith-Torres, former chief of the Cockrell Hill Police Department, now with her own company, Stiletto Spy and Company Investigations. We're outside the Super Garcia Meat Market. What happened here?
Back in October 5th, 6th, around midnight, A person or persons broke into this meat market here and stole thousands of dollars of cash.
All right, let's talk about your video. You have video and still images of your primary suspect.
Yes.
So we see him on camera?
Yes.
He's in the store how long?
He's in the store for about 45 minutes. He didn't disrupt a whole lot of area in the office. It seemed like he knew where to look for where they had stored the money. Well, since this has happened, this store owner has brushed up their security severely and will no longer be storing money at any of their stores that they have.
So the images are very good.
They are very good.
It's quite possible somebody will recognize him.
I believe if they know this guy by this picture and the vehicle.
Tell me about the vehicle.
The vehicle seemed to be a 2014 Ford Focus.
Okay, and you are working with Detective Colby Burris of the Cleburne Police Department.
Yes, I am, working directly with him.
Tell me about that partnership.
You know, a lot of police officers are not as willing to work with private investigators. But we understand, especially me, since I've been in law enforcement for years, that law enforcement doesn't have all the time in the world to put in every case. And so when an individual can afford to hire a private investigator, we can work hand in hand with them and give them the information that we gather.
What is it that Detective Colby Burris needs?
He needs tips. Anything that you know about the person, where they may be, and if they recognize the person or the vehicle, they need those tips.
All right, we're putting Detective Colby Burris's information up on the screen right now. His email address, his phone number. Recognize him or that car? Get at Detective Colby Burris, Cleburne Police. Get at Detective Colby Burris. Help find the man responsible for stealing thousands of dollars from Super Garcia Meat Market here in Cleburne, Texas.
Fort Worth police updated 2 separate police shootings that happened on the same day. Both incidents happened on January 15th, about 7 hours apart. One was a domestic disturbance at a home. The other involved an armed man at an apartment complex. Fox 4's Deon England shows us the police video from both encounters.
Get on the ground. Hey! Get on the ground. Shots fired.
A Fort Worth officer's decision to fire her service weapon on January 15th after an armed man for several minutes defied commands and then, according to police, made a move threatening to the officer.
Right before the shots are fired, she sees this suspect reach directly for where she knows the handgun is located. And while he has his hand in that location, he's turning back and looking at her. So she was forced to make a split-second decision at that point.
Hands up! Hands up! Drop the gun!
The suspect has since been identified as 42-year-old Deron Morris. The encounter began after people at an apartment complex on John T. White Road made 911 calls to report Morris pointing a gun and threatening people.
Hey, get on the ground!
He very defiantly is walking towards her. He's not trying to flee, run the other direction. He's walking directly towards her.
Morris was not struck. Police say he took off running and barricaded himself in the apartment where he lived. Chief Neil Noakes points out the officer's decision to fire her service weapon also took into account an innocent bystander in a vehicle very close to the suspect.
She perceived an imminent deadly threat because of the movements this gentleman was making towards the gun and towards her, and she made the right call.
Fox 4 cameras captured the aftermath of the shooting, as well as the ultimate arrest. Fort Worth police on this day shared details of this case, as well as another officer-involved shooting. On the same day, officers fatally shot 28-year-old Brandon Adame, who investigators say beat and threatened to kill his mother during a mental health crisis. They say Adame charged officers with a knife in each hand. He was pronounced dead on the scene.
They were presented with a choice. They chose to protect themselves, which is what I expect them to do.
In Fort Worth, Deon Anglin, Fox 4 News.
Arlington police released video of officers getting into a shootout while responding to an armed robbery. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Police say the suspects entered a title-owned business and bound the employees' arms and legs with tape shortly before officers arrived. Fox 4's Deon Anglin live with that new video and reaction from the police chief. Deon.
Hi there, Clarice. Well, the police chief here in Arlington says that the key to this was good police training as well as an alert citizen that helped stop this aggravated robbery in progress.
Come out now with your hands up. Shots fired. We got one running westbound.
January 10th, 2 suspects after an ambush robbery at a title and payday loan business in Arlington. Police say one of the men, 37-year-old Kelvin Bivens, held a gun from behind the back door of the business and fired at officers.
Once Mr. Bevan began firing, 2 officers fired their service weapon multiple times in his direction. Mr. Bevan retreated back into the business and then attempted to exit the front door. Roll over your stomach!
Get him out. I don't know. Body cam video shows officers take down Bivens as he tried to run out of the front door. Back to the beginning of the crime. Police shared surveillance video from the business. They say this is Bivens entering, waving and pointing his gun at 4 employees. He returns to the door, and the second suspect comes inside. Police say the suspects forced those workers into a back room and bound their hands and feet with tape. They later gathered up purses and cell phones. What they did not count on was a citizen who saw the armed men enter the business and called 911.
That just shows when, you have people of your community, the eyes and ears, willing to give us a call. That's how we keep in Arlington safe.
The second suspect, 38-year-old Kevin Lewis, temporarily got away on foot that night. Police say Lewis was arrested Thursday morning, 13 days after the robbery.
He got away that night. We at the scene, we believe that they came in a vehicle. We located that vehicle at the location. Through searching and doing a search warrant on the vehicle, we were able to identify him. He left some personal items in the car. Through the personal items, we were able to determine that he was associated with Mr. Bevins. Come out now with your hands up.
Chief Jones began his remarks with a firm assessment of it all.
I just want to first start out saying my officers, they did a fantastic job in their response.
Now, there are 2 investigations underway, the criminal probe into what happened, as well as an internal affairs review into the officers' actions. But as you heard the chief there say, he feels his officers acted appropriately.
Dallas police are looking for a group of masked men who unloaded a barrage of bullets into a disabled woman's home, killing her. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. You can see evidence of dozens of bullets being fired inside the victim's home. We're told the victim, identified by family as Alice Fisher, was on the phone with her sister when the shooting started. She was described as a loving aunt and mother and a kind neighbor too. Fox 4's David Centendry live at Dallas Police Headquarters with the story. David.
Yeah, Steve, the disabled woman who was shot and killed lived alone in that apartment, and it appears that people kicked in her door before firing dozens of shots at her and throughout the apartment. Her family believes that the people who shot her mistook her apartment for someone else's.
I mean,
We really don't know.
Alice Fisher's family is unsure who killed her, kicking in her front door and firing dozens of shots into her West Dallas apartment Wednesday evening.
She was disabled. She just came home from the hospital yesterday. Wasn't in her house comfortable, not what, 4-5 good hours.
Fisher lived alone.
Disabled, couldn't move. She was heavy set. Like, it's just sad.
It appears she was resting in her reclining chair when she was ambushed.
My mother actually was on the phone with her and she screamed.
Her family says she was shot 9 times. Every room in her apartment, from the bathroom to the 2 bedrooms, sprayed with gunfire. Fox 4 saw dozens of evidence markers.
Thinking you're safe in your home and something like this happens, like stop the senseless violence and killings for no reason. Like you took an innocent woman who was looking forward to raising her grandson. It's sad.
Fisher lived in Dallas Housing Authority's King Bridge Crossing. Surveillance video shows Dallas Police Department's crime scene. Additional footage we've seen, but do not have permission to broadcast, shows several masked individuals with guns walking up to Fisher's apartment before gunshots are heard. Latoya Caldwell says she heard the shots and saw young men running away.
I saw them running back to the car, and then I saw all of them get in the car.
And they just sped off?
They sped off and went down this way, came this way and went down that way.
But you couldn't see them because they had ski masks on?
Because they had ski masks on.
Boom, 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 boom. Neighbors Roy White and Yolette McEwen went to check on Fisher after they heard the gunfire.
Just a lot of shooting, and then afterwards, after the shooting, me, him, and my neighbor's son, we all went down there to Miss Alice's house. Her door was standing wide open, and all you seen was like a whole bunch of bullet casings on the inside of her doorway, on the inside of her house. Over 50, 60 shots. She was a sweet person. And I pray to God and I hope to God that they catch whoever it is that killed her.
Dallas Police Department has not said what a motive might be, but Fisher's family believes the shooting was intended for someone else.
Wrong apartment. That's what we've been hearing.
Looking for someone else.
Someone else, yeah. It was like the wrong door. Like she didn't deserve it.
While Fisher's loved ones hope for arrests, they want people to realize what she meant to their family.
Her being a loving, caring aunt, sister, mother, and a friend.
No enemy. She was a good woman, a loving, kind neighbor.
There are cameras throughout that apartment complex, and specifically a camera located on a pole right outside of her unit. We know at least some footage has been turned over to Dallas Police Department. Obviously, if you have any indication on who's responsible, you're asked to give them a call.
Police in Seagoville, southeast of Dallas, are looking for a hit-and-run driver who hit a man while he was standing on the side of a highway. Jaime Lopez Tinoco died last week. Seagoville police say someone hit him while his truck was pulled to the side of the road. He was outside the truck. Right now, police say they have very few leads. The victim's family is hoping for any clue that can bring them closure. Fox 4's Amelia Jones is in Seagoville with the story. Amelia.
Steve, the Seagoville Police Department says there are several things that make this case difficult. The location of where the crash happened, the lack of witnesses, and so far, no surveillance video in the area. Driving along South Highway 175 in Seagoville, you might spot several crosses. A new one appeared in the last week to honor 51-year-old Jaime Lopez Tinoco. Seagoville police say last Thursday evening, Tinoco pulled over to secure the load in the bed of his pickup truck when someone hit him, pinning him to his pickup, then drove off. When officers arrived, Tinoco was already dead.
There was fluid spills, and then there was a trail leaving from the scene of the accident that led officers to believe that there was an accident there involving a second vehicle.
Aside from the fluid spills, there was little more evidence to work with. They do believe the vehicle that hit Tinoco should have front-end damage, but there's no description of the vehicle and no cameras nearby.
This pretty isolated area.
The pastor at Tinoco's church told Fox 4 the two were on the phone when he pulled over that night.
It was like just the last word that he said, you know, it was just, he said, my legs. And I was like, are you okay? How's everything? And he didn't talk no more.
David Villarreal told officers he didn't hear a crash, but later someone answered Tinoco's phone at the scene and shared the news.
He didn't make it. And I think for what I know, The man that answered the phone, he told me, I think somebody hit him and run away because there's nobody here.
Tinoco joined Villarreal's church last month. In the short time they knew each other, Villarreal says Tinoco was a happy person who was working to make changes in his life.
He was so happy about serving the Lord because I know he feels the Lord on his heart. And I know he's in a good place right now.
Seagoville police are asking anyone who might have seen something to come forward.
There was some security footage, or there was a passing by motorist that saw something, even something as simple as the make or model or color of a car, then that would be great.
And the family is asking the driver to do the right thing and turn themselves in.
We can't give closure to the family until we know exactly what happened.
When I spoke to the pastor, he told me the materials that were in the bed of Tinoco's pickup truck were for a construction project that he planned to start the next day. Detectives canvassed the area, but so far they don't have any leads. If you have any information about this crash, you're asked to contact the Seagoville Police Department.
An employee at a Corsicana ISD school says she was injured after a student tried to throw a chair at her. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. This is the second time an employee has been injured in that school in the past few months. This all happened at Collins Intermediate School. A paraprofessional in the classroom for students with behavioral issues says she fell trying to get away from the flying chair and she broke her wrist. In August, an assistant principal at the same school suffered a severe eye injury in the same classroom. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager is in Corsicana with the story. Peyton.
Steve and Heather, Corsicana ISD released an updated statement this afternoon saying that it already completed its investigation into Tuesday's incident. I sat down with that paraprofessional this afternoon. She says that she is still concerned because this is the second employee injury at that same intermediate school in less than 6 months.
I've been in daycares, I've worked in nursing homes, and I just went back to working at school because
helping children is her passion, according to Carol Tidwell. At the beginning of this school year, the paraprofessional says she was assigned to Collins Intermediate, to a classroom designated for students with behavioral challenges. But Tidwell says she's had safety concerns.
It's not a healthy environment to be working in.
Tidwell says Tuesday her job was not only unhealthy, but also unsafe. The 57-year-old tells Fox 4 a student of hers, who has been violent before, began to act disruptive. She described the terrifying chain of events.
When I looked up, all I could see was a chair coming. And when I told the teacher, I said, hey, we got a chair flying. I said, I called for AB for help. By the time the chair hit the floor, I went stumbling backwards, tripped, fell, and broke my wrist, my left wrist.
Tidwell called her husband, who drove her to Baylor Hospital in Dallas. There, x-rays confirmed she had a fractured wrist. Wednesday, Corsicana ISD released a statement on the incident to Fox 4 saying, in a small classroom, a student attempted to throw a chair in the direction of a paraprofessional, who fell attempting to avoid the chair as it slid across the floor. According to video footage, the injury occurred during the fall.
People need to know these kids need to be helped.
A similar message came from Collins Intermediate Assistant Principal Kendra Rogers back in August as she called for change. Rogers, blind in her right eye after a juvenile student in a classroom for students with behavior issues, threw multiple chairs at her and then hit her in the face with a hanger.
Overly aggressive students need services to meet their needs.
That student was removed from school. Fox 4 is still waiting for a response from the Navarro County District Attorney if charges were ever filed in Rogers' case. Wednesday, Corsicana ISD says it can't release any information about the student involved in Tuesday's case due to district policy.
I don't get paid to get messed up like this.
Tidwell tells me that she does not plan to go back to Corsicana ISD. She also tells me she doesn't believe enough changes were made at Collins Intermediate after the incident in August. Now, in that statement that Corsicana ISD released today, they tell us that learning resumed right after yesterday's incident and that intermediate school was never placed on lockdown.